You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here's your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
I am Glenn the Geek.
And I am Allison Rehnborg, coming to you from the Horse Radio Network booth 207 at Equine Affaire in Ohio. Yay!
And you're listening to Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for April 11th, episode 3667. This episode is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. Good morning, Horse World. Well, we're here. We're back for another round of shows from Equine Affaire. And we have a very special guest this year. Ashley's here.
Hi, everybody. I'm having so much fun. This is like heaven on earth. I've already been shopping twice.
Of course.
Yeah, she has. We were supposed to be out finding guests yesterday, and I think we spent more time shopping for Ashley than...
There's so many sparkly, glittery things. What is the girl to do?
I know, right? And she's wearing half of them.
Yeah,
so.
she is. She's well blinged out today.
If you could only see the vision that I have before me of Ashley all blinged out, it makes me very happy.
We were walking around with her yesterday. She has so many comments on her outfit. That's all day long. It was comments on her outfit.
Because she was wearing this gorgeous bright pink. We're going to do a fit check. A gorgeous bright pink blazer with matching bright pink lipstick. She was stunning, and then with her blingy badge clip.
Yeah.
And then Glenn was all business.
Yeah, just
drab.
blue and black. Yeah. Hey, we're going to do 3 special episodes this weekend, so that's unusual. We'll be here today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Allison and Ashley and I have arranged a bunch of good guests for you. Today, we're going to be talking about Mustangs with a couple of the guests. We're going to be talking about donkeys. We're also there's a new book out that I wanted everybody to hear about. We have an artist joining us today. So we just have a bunch of people joining us today that are a lot of fun, some old friends. It was like old friends day for me yesterday. Ashley's like, no wonder it takes you so long to walk around these places. Just everybody knows you.
And he tries to walk away, and they just rein him
keep
right
talking.
back.
Oh, like, Glenn, no, stay here. Yeah. You're a celebrity. Well, we discovered you are a celebrity in an unusual population.
That's right.
What was that?
The Amish.
Yes.
He doesn't even remember.
Oh, that's right. We went to the Fell ponies yesterday, which are the cutest damn ponies in the world. We just
so
highlighted
cute.
them on the show, and I want one now. And the Amish guy there, I forget his name. Sorry, I forgot your name.
I wasn't with you.
Yeah, and he was on the show last year, and he said, oh, you're the one with the Hackney. How he remembered that, I don't know. He said he listens to the show.
He does.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, the Amish have come a long way. They're listening to podcasts now.
And you are the Amish celebrity.
I'm the Amish celebrity. So I wanted to also mention before we get to our first guest that Double D Trailers is here. And, of course, you all know that I did a trailer series with Brad over at Double D Trailers. And he did a new book called The Honest to Goodness Truth About Horse Trailers, which I'm on the back cover, actually, as I recommended it. And I have a couple of books here that I've been on the cover this year. And he is giving the books away. So if you are here, hit his booth. It's in the back of the Bricker building, Double D Trailers. He has a beautiful trailer there, too. But the book, he's just giving away to people for free. So stop over there. You can get your free book. It's called The Honest to Goodness Truth About Horse Trailers. I got to read the pre-copy before it went to print. And it is the definitive book of horse trailers, from everything you need to know about buying one or selling yours or getting a new one or buying a used one. Any which way, how to maintain your trailer, everything's there. And this is not a paid commercial. I just love those guys over there. They're absolutely fabulous. We know the whole family now.
Yes, it was fun.
Yeah, so I just stop over there if you're here to check that out. A lot of our sponsors are here. We're set up beside one, actually, one of our sponsors. So it's so nice to see all of our sponsors. Most of them are here, actually.
Yep.
So
well, this is where everybody comes. Who's anybody?
That's right. That's right.
True.
So we're going to go, speaking of sponsors, we're going to hit Kentucky Performance Products, and then we're going to come back with our first guest, and we're going to talk some Mustangs.
Frequently asked questions brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. I know my older horse will benefit from a joint supplement, but can it help my younger horse too? Yes, it can. The joints of young horses experience daily wear and tear that can lead to joint degeneration over time. A well-balanced joint supplement provides the building blocks necessary to support healthy cartilage and synovial fluid so horses stay sounder longer. Joint Armor is the product of choice for younger horses. It provides high levels of both glucosamine and chondroitin plus 100 milligrams of hyaluronic acid. Joint Armor is herb-free, so there is no worry about it testing in show horses. Betsy sent us the following comments after she started her 5-year-old quarter horse mare on Joint Armor. My vet recommended I try Joint Armor. After 10 days, I couldn't believe the difference. She is now floating across the arena and willingly forward with impulsion and suspension. I am thrilled. She is happier too, ears up and a soft eye. Thank you for such a great product. You can learn more about Joint Armor at kppusa.com. Got questions about your feeding program? We can help. Email Karen at questions@kppusa.com or call us at 859-873-2974.
So our first guest is Lisa Diersen, and she is the founder and director of the Mustang Summit. She's a very accomplished lady, and we are delighted to have her here, along with her whole cohort. They're doing Mustang presentations all weekend long. So let's welcome Lisa to the show.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Allison. Good morning, Glenn. It's so fun to be back here with you guys
it's been
again.
a while,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Well, 2 years.
2 years, yeah. But I mean, you've been coming on our shows for years.
Yes. Well, you and I talked the other day, talk about Old Home Week.
Yeah.
When we first met was in 2010
That's
at
right.
World Equestrian
At World
Games.
Equestrian Games in Kentucky. That's
Yes.
right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, a
yes.
long time ago.
That's a throwback.
Do you know that's 15 years ago now?
Yes, I know. It's 15 years
Yeah.
ago now.
Decade and a half.
Yes. But look at what's happened since then.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and the horses beyond just show horses in this country. So
Yes.
it's very cool. It's exciting.
So can we talk about the Mustang Summit presentations that you're
Sure.
doing here?
Sure.
What are you guys hoping to share about?
What we're trying to share this year, and this is our first kickoff event of the year. We have 23 events across the country this year.
Wow.
With Mustangs. Half of them have live Mustangs. Half of them are either film presentations or panels. We do presentation panels. Yesterday we had a really great panel. I had Scott Beckstead with the Wild Horse Sanctuary, a refuge out in Colorado, which is kind of like the last place if horses can't go through training. At least they have sanctuary.
He's going to be on a little later in the show, too.
Yes.
He's
Oh,
coming
good.
up. Yep.
So he can talk to you about the sanctuary. But we have our Mustangers, who are our gentlers, and we work with yearling Mustangs so that you take away that people wanting to jump in and I can outride you and this and that. You don't do that with the babies. You have to learn and be able to teach people your horsemanship skills, narrow pathway release work, brain-based horsemanship, which is what works with Mustangs. So we're educating people about that. We're educating people about Mustangs and mental health, veterans programs, the prison programs, the youth programs, all of the different outlets there are for these horses to go to, as well as being amazing show horses. And with Forever Branded now starting out, they're kind of regenerating, bringing a whole new group of trainers in what used to be considered the TIP program. They're reworking it. It'll be much more monitored, and it'll have a lot more rules and regulations, and there will be a lot of oversight to make sure that the horses are taken care of and that the trainers are doing it right. And so that's Ann Souders with Forever Branded, and then we've got Matt Monroe, who has Mustang Champions, so that after you go through all of the smaller shows and the branded bonanzas, you can look forward to going and being at a Mustang Champion event where you have the possibility of winning $50,000. They give away $125,000 at each of their two events. They have a Western event in Vegas, and they have an English event that is at
And
Kentucky
that is so
Horse
exciting
Park.
that there's English events now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the horses are heavy in the West. Your supply is in the West, but your demand is in the East.
Yep.
And so we have quite a few events in Maryland. We have a big event in Aiken, South Carolina at a wonderful Mustang rescue that's there. There's a bunch of Mustang people in that region. And so Lisa and Bill Mallory run a really nice Mustang rescue called Halfway to Heaven, and they'll be hosting us in Aiken. And we'll be doing the Mustangers and education and bringing people and the art, because I bring the film festival. I also do the Equus Film Festival. So we encourage the storytelling. Julianne Neal has a whole series now from when we were following Lisanne's ride across the country 3.5 years ago, which is how the whole Mustang Summit started, is as Lisanne left Delaware and started to ride towards California, we started, as I went to meet her at places and set up educational events along the way, we found all of these people across the country. When she started in Delaware, there was a Mustang group that has 40-plus Mustangs.
Wow.
A club there that rode with her and helped her. And so it was a light bulb moment for me, because I didn't realize the support that there already is on the east of the Mississippi for these horses. So a goal is for next year for Forever Branded to bring a branded bonanza event. We're going to be talking to the Equine Affaire people about bringing that in here next year.
I don't want to get political, but we're not going to get political. But I think obviously that your discussions have to be the urgency now, because we're kind of up in the air about what's going to happen with the Mustang. There's a lot more in holding than there ever has been.
Yes.
And without trying to get political here, it is a concern right now.
Yes, it is. So when we had our panel yesterday, I had Amanda Held with Hooves, who's the Veterans Program. Mm-hmm. I had Ann Sodders with Forever Branded, Matt Manroe with Mustang Champions. I had Natalie, or not, she'll be mad at me now, not Natalie, Heather with the BLM was there, and Julianne was there with the Mustang Stories, and they also do a program called Wellness Through Mustangs. And they were talking about the partnership that's needed from the sanctuary, and Scott was on the panel with us, from sanctuary to training to getting this all out. The BLM can't do it alone.
Right.
They need partnerships. They need,
just the fact with budget cuts, things are going to get tricky.
Things are really scary. And I have had phone calls. I don't know if anyone in your audience has seen a documentary called "The Mustangs, America's Wild Horses."
Yes.
So
we talked
Steve
about
Latham made that documentary. Robert Redford was the
executive
producer.
He's been on the show. Yep.
So Steve had called me and said 2 or 3 weeks ago, he's like, "We're in panic mode."
Yeah.
It was right before the beginning of March, because he then turned around and put that documentary as available for free on public NPR, the internet. You can go to public radio or the public television, PBS. That's it.
There we go.
All of these.
Yeah.
HNR.
Too many
all these acronyms.
acronyms.
But it's available for free for anyone globally to watch, because he felt so strongly about people seeing and understanding that it's way more complicated. Most people see wild horses and Mustangs, and they love the Mustangs. The majority of American public doesn't understand that it's not just the Mustangs. It's so many issues and layers upon layers. And that's what I feel the Mustang Summit is doing, is kind of bridging that gap, the education gap, because they don't understand that there's on-range issues and off-range issues and on-range fights and off-range fights, and you have extremist groups that want to keep them on the range. Well, I don't want to live in a country where they're selling tags for you to go out and bag your Mustang.
Right.
And that will happen here. It is not, could it happen? It almost happened in the Native American community with the Mustang, with the wild horses on their lands, which is 3 times the amount of wild horses that the BLM deals with. So it's not just, there's Forest Service, there's Park Service horses. It's not just the federal BLM. They're just one little component.
And all of those departments are going to be feeling the heat.
Yes, every one of them. And
Yep.
it will affect the horses. So it is of urgency that we let people know how cool and fun these horses are to have. Ann Hanlon in Maryland is eventing her Mustang up and down, and she runs a beautiful event there that we'll be part of in September. Just constantly, we're constantly trying to get the education
I think this
out.
is such a tricky topic. It always has been
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody should have a Mustang either. Right?
No.
And even you say that, right?
Yes.
Right.
That's the tricky part of this.
That is the tricky part. That's the piece that the education comes in at. So what we're trying to do is create a web of trainers across the country that they can access just by going to MustangSummit.com. You can see all of our different Mustangers. Right now we've got 35 or 40 that have been Mustangers with us across the country. They'll help you. It's pick up the phone. They'll help you. It's teaching people that, to me, the worst thing that the Bureau of Land Management ever did was pull a truck up, unload horses into pens. People give them $125 and you take a horse home.
Right.
That is a recipe for disaster.
Or we're going to pay them $1,000 to take the horse home.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then you end up, the horse is the one that's suffering.
And
But-
isn't that always the way? The horse
It
ends
is,
up the
though,
one
but if we can
suffering.
educate, if we can give people the tools,
Mhm.
education is the way. And if we give them the tools to learn how to either work with your own Mustang, or when we've had people adopt our babies at events, then they go on and work with the trainer that was working with that baby at that
Well,
event.
and let's face it, people listening to this show probably all are qualified to take a Mustang home. I mean, most
Probably,
of them, right?
probably,
Because
yes.
they're more educated than the average.
And
Well-
those are the people that if they did take them home and turned around and sold them a year later to someone going on down the road.
Well, and again, not to get political, but it's also, let's say I'm never going to own a Mustang personally. I know I'm not qualified for that, but I can get educated so that I know how to vote.
Right.
And that's the other part of this, is reaching people in the industry who aren't going to get Mustangs, and then people outside of our industry who can know how to handle how to think about this whole issue, right?
Well,
and
and
then vote accordingly.
One of the things with Anne that we were talking about yesterday is if someone comes up and says, "Oh, I'm never going to have a Mustang, but I want to be involved. How can I be involved?" Well, you buy an acre and attach it over to the Wild Horse Refuge, or you go with Forever Branded and you pay $125 to sponsor. You can sponsor anonymously, or you can have your name and follow that horse for a youth
Love it.
competitor.
Yes.
And
Yep.
then that youth competitor gets that horse, takes that horse home, trains that horse, and that horse has one more better chance of staying out of the slaughter pipeline.
And
which
that
is,
I love that. So
Yeah.
that is something I can do.
there's so much fun, and
Yes.
you can, with the internet, with Facebook and the groups that we've got going with these horses, you can follow their stories. You can stay connected. You can stay connected with the kids and the trainer. Yeah, it creates community,
Yes.
and with community creates power.
All right, Lisa, where do people find out about all of this?
Well, they can go to the MustangSummit.com or call me. You can pick up the phone and call me directly. You can
Yes.
email me, and I can I can help.
So the MustangSummit.com is the place to go.
Yes,
All right.
yes, they can go there.
Lisa, you're always so well spoken, and thank you for joining us again today.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
so much for having me.
All right, and our next guest is Megan Hensley. She is the donkey farrier, and she is here as part of the Donkey Extravaganza. Yay! And we are just thrilled to have Megan on the show. You can learn more about her at donkeyhooves.com. I'll just get that out of the way, and we'll bring it up again later as well. But let's welcome Megan. Hi.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, when you were a 12-year-old girl, were you picturing that you would be the donkey lady eventually?
No, but I was obsessed with horses, and I had gotten my first job scoop and poop
There you go.
to
Perfect.
take riding lessons.
Perfect.
But I love where I'm at today.
I think manure is like a gateway drug. It's like, clean that stall and you can ride this horse. Okay, sure.
Yeah, it's classic.
So you're based out in California, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so how'd you get all the way out here to Ohio for the donkey extravaganza? Tell us this story.
Well, Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue wrangled me. They were like, "We want you to come out and, be our donkey hoof care person for the event." And I said yes. and then that's how I got here.
Easy story. Okay, I love it.
It was a bit of a trip though. By the time it was all coming together, I was like, oh boy, it's a long flight. But
Yes.
I'm really glad I'm here.
How did you get into donkeys?
Well, I was on a backcountry trails crew with the California Conservation Corps in 2004, and I thought that I was going to become a packer for the Forest Service. That's kind of where I wanted to go. And when I applied for that, they wanted me to have hoof care experience.
Oh.
So I went out, got an apprenticeship with a local farrier in my area, worked for him for a year, and I was going to go back to the Forest Service, but he was moving away and offered me a chance to just take over his business. And he's the one who I learned to trim donkeys with, but I was also shoeing horses and doing the whole shebang.
Wow. Funny how life is.
Oh, it is. And so in that moment, I chose the business, and I kept working with donkeys, kept shoeing horses, but then I just kept realizing, wow, donkeys are really underserved and misunderstood in the hoof care industry.
Yes.
And so I just kept sticking up for them, really fell in love with them, and now that's all I do.
Well, and you're a lady farrier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many? There aren't that many.
There's
right?
more these days, but
More these days.
19 years ago when I got started, there wasn't a lot.
How's your back?
It's doing pretty good.
All right, good.
It's my
Checking.
shoulder.
Oh,
It's
really?
my shoulder that's bad.
Because donkeys are shorter too,
Yes.
so you got more. You're getting more yoga in. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I crawl around a lot.
What is
it's
the
worth it.
biggest difference besides the height? What is the biggest difference when you're trimming a donkey versus a horse? What do you have to think about differently?
I think one of the biggest things that I have to think about differently, you'd think it'd be just about their hooves, but it's more about who donkeys are. Connecting with a donkey in a way that makes them want to work with you and be with you. They're incredibly smart. They're really intuitive and emotionally intelligent. And folks will struggle with handling them. And so I really work from a place where I want donkeys to know that they're safe with me. I want to become their friend. So that's one of the biggest differences. And then as far as their hoof care, they're often under-trimmed or not trimmed often enough. And so that's something I try to help people really understand for donkeys.
Yeah, so how often should we trim donkeys?
Just like horses, and depending on if they're experiencing any metabolic issues, if we're doing any rehabs, anywhere from 4 to like 10 weeks. And that's also depending on their environment. If you've created like a habitat that mimics the desert or a track system, if you're encouraging really good movement, your trim cycle might be able to be extended a little bit. But if we're dealing with laminitis or white line disease, then we're going to want to make sure we keep them on a really short and tight schedule.
We've had a couple guests on recently have talked about how caring for donkeys is so much different because they are susceptible to being a little tiny bit overweight.
Yes.
And people don't realize that. And then we're into laminitis and hoof problems. So that's different too, right?
It is very, very different. And that's when we're caring for donkeys, we really need to think about they came from the desert. The Sahara Desert in particular is where their species really originates from. And so what's there to eat in the desert? The last
Scrub
time,
and
the last
cactus
time, like nothing,
Yeah.
right? And you got to walk really far to get to it. So resources are slim. And so they are designed to take what little forage they can get and just pull every nutrient out of it. They can recycle their water. I mean, they're incredible. So when they get domesticated and we just start feeding them like we might a horse, we really can set them up for becoming sick and having hoof problems. So understanding who they are and what they need diet-wise is one of the biggest things you can do to keep your donkey really happy and healthy.
Absolutely. You said recycle their water?
Yeah, like they are able to hold on to it, and they recycle nitrogen, but they can hold on to water much longer than horses, so they can go a longer period of time without water.
Kind of like a little like a camel?
Yeah, I think it's very similar. I think you had
cool.
a guess. Amy McLean knows more about the science behind all that.
I did not know that.
But incredibly efficient.
Yes. Well, yeah, I'm efficient. That's why I'm chunky, like a donkey. I'm just really efficient,
You're
guys.
really efficient. I like that. We're all efficient, apparently.
We're efficient.
Hey, you have something sitting in front of you have to talk
Yes.
about because the Cavallo boot right
boot.
there.
Yeah.
Tell us
Oh,
about
what
your
is
boots.
this?
Cavallo's been a sponsor of ours since we started Horse Radio Network, so we're very fond of them.
Oh.
But you have a new boot.
I do. I absolutely love Cavallo. They reached out to me a few years ago to collaborate on a donkey-specific hoof boot. Okay, because as we've said, donkeys are underserved in the hoof care industry, and they have been being kind of fitted into boots that don't fit them because their hoof structure, the shape of it is different. And
it's different. It's a little longer.
Yeah, it's more U-shaped, and then your frog and your digital cushion sits farther back from the heel base, so that kind of juts out the back of their foot. And so it's like U-shaped and juts further back out, so they can be difficult to fit into a boot.
The boot's longer, less round, and
yeah,
more
the boot is longer. Longer.
More oval.
Yes, longer, and it juts out a little bit more. And there's a few other things that we've done to make them more donkey specific. And so we have them on display at the Cavallo booth in the Bricker building, and then also over at the Donkey Extravaganza at my booth. So you can come check them out, and you can get on the wait list. They're not available to the public just yet, but we're very close.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
exciting.
What do you think about the whole concept of the Donkey Extravaganza here at Equine Affaire? Like, is that just people have been so excited? But I'm just curious, what does someone on the inside think?
It's well overdue. Donkeys have deserved the spotlight for a long time, and I was just thrilled to find out that the Equine Affaire is something of this magnitude. Like, this is a very popular event, very big. People really like it, that you guys made space for donkeys.
Well, I got to tell you, we were over at the adoption yesterday, and the donkeys were the first things adopted. None of the horses we saw were adopted. The donkeys were adopted.
Yes.
One of our own Equine Affaire staff adopted one.
Yes, they were really cute.
She got a cute little spotty one.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
We're all in. We're all in on the donkeys. Well, and since I run our socials, I've been promoting the heck out of the Donkey Extravaganza since we knew it was happening. And I've just been delighted by the response. People are so excited. They're like, I'm coming this year because donkeys. And I'm just like, who knew that people would love donkeys this much? But I love it. And I think it's so cool. And I got to spend some time over in the extravaganza yesterday. And I'm like, this is fun. Maybe I should consider converting from horses to donkeys. I don't know.
I love that.
What do you think? You think there are any misconceptions about donkeys? Like we've talked about the whole, like, they are animals who need care. We talked about that on a previous episode, just like horses. But what do you think? What do you run into?
I run into a few things. And one thing I just want to touch on is you said, like, oh, I'm just so surprised. That I have this saying that everybody loves donkeys. They just might not know it yet because they haven't had a chance to really meet them. And so some of the misconceptions about donkeys are that they're stubborn, or we get the bad jokes about them, which I'm not a fan of, right? Donkeys are actually incredibly smart. And this idea that they're stubborn is because they're thinking a lot more. And they have a really high self-preservation. They're like, yeah, that just really doesn't sound like something I want to do. So prove to me that this is that I'm going to be safe. And that comes back to me working with them. I want them to feel safe with me. I develop a relationship with them, and they remember me, and then they want to be with me and hang out with me. So I think the biggest one is that they're stubborn or that they're difficult. The other thing you'll hear is donkeys are difficult. No, they're very smart, and they're very sensitive to energies. So you really need to come with an open heart and be wanting to have fun and not be forcing them to do things.
You need to speak. Their language is different.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're very discerning, and they often require us to just be a little bit more, like to just, I can't quite explain it, but.
You know, if humans were more like donkeys, this world would probably be a better place. We'd all be a little more discerning.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Amen.
And emotionally intelligent, too. Just they're so sweet.
So what you're saying is horses really are trying to kill themselves all the time and have very low self-preservation, which is why they hang out with people like us.
Yeah, donkeys are trying to save themselves. Yeah, there is a difference.
Yeah, horses are just more reactive. And that comes down to them being a species. Out in the wild, the horses are going to, like, they scram. They're like, oh boy, something's coming,
out.
Let's go. Where donkeys, where resources are slim, they're more likely to stand their ground, wait it out, assess the situation, or camouflage. They also camouflage in the wild. So that's why we don't see them just kind of react the way horses do. And that's why people love mules out in the backcountry and for riding.
Yep.
This is fascinating stuff. I'm so glad you did donkeys this year.
Me
I really
too.
am. And obviously
Me
it's been
too.
popular over there. That's where the most people were hanging out. So You're found in the Voinovich
She's
building?
in the Voinovich as part of the donkey extravaganza.
And for those that don't know, it's a building kind of at the end of the food court area. And it's where the used tax stuff is.
Yes.
Everybody knows where that is.
And the
That's
breed
all-
pavilion.
Yes.
It's all mixed in there together. And there's a demo ring in there. So, and you're presenting, is it later today? Yes.
Today at 12. And I want to say something about the website. It's donkeyhooves.com/extravaganza if you want to go to my website and see what I've got going on.
And what part of
today.
California are you in?
I'm from Northern California, up in the Redwoods.
Okay.
Up on the coast, yeah.
Megan, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you
Appreciate
guys
it.
so much.
Thank you.
Well, we met a fascinating guy yesterday who's actually one row over from us, and he is Scott from the Wild Horse Mustang Refuge. Hey, Scott.
How you doing, Glenn? Glad to
Good.
be here.
Good. So we're back to Mustangs. We went Mustangs to donkeys, and now we're back to Mustangs.
All right. Well, hey, you can't lose with either one, either
That's-
Mustangs or donkeys.
That's true. So what is the Refuge, and where are you at? Tell us about it.
Sure. The Wild Horse Refuge is a 30,000-acre private refuge for Colorado-born wild horses. It is owned and operated by the Wild Animal Sanctuary, an organization that is a 501c3 charity established by Pat Craig over 40 years ago. And our mission is to restore freedom to Colorado-born wild horses, especially animals that have been offered up for adoption and haven't been adopted. So many of our horses are middle-aged horses that have been passed over. And our objective is to take a very hands-off approach to these animals. We turn them out onto 30,000 acres, which is just
It's just a little place.
It's vast.
Little.
It is, and it's wide open range. And our approach is to let these animals, go back to living wild and free, and interfere with their daily lives as little as possible. But we have abundant forage, abundant water. It is home not just to over 220 wild Mustangs. It is also home to mule deer, elk, pronghorn, sage grouse, coyotes, eagles. I mean, it's a thriving ecosystem. And
Can I live there?
it
sounds fun.
Well,
I'd love
yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
free range.
if we can reclassify you as a wild Mustang, then
Yeah,
sure, why not?
I think we could probably get that
Sure.
done, actually. Especially after the show's over. She feels like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
That sounds wonderful.
It is. It's an amazing place. The mission is I think one of a kind. We of course admire all of those who are operating sanctuaries and rescues, but this is really a unique place in sort of our approach and our philosophy.
Is there a cap on the number of horses you have?
There will be. I mean, right now we are only occupying half of that 30,000 acres with 220 wild horses. Our priority for this summer will be to complete the fencing around the other half and make sure that it's secure. And then we will be able to take even more wild horses and turn them loose. But we consult with range experts who come out and take a look at the range because we want to make sure that this remains a very healthy and sustainable operation that serves not only the wild horses but all those other wild creatures who share that
What
area.
has surprised you about watching them and being with them and running this whole operation? What surprised you the most?
I think just how it's so fascinating to watch the herd dynamics in this kind of wild, free-roaming environment. It's amazing how these horses seem to just enjoy running just for the sake of the joy of running. Because they have so much food and water, they feel no need to try and escape. They feel no need to try and challenge the fences. They can wander all day and only cover part of our operation. So just watching them out there enjoying. I think another thing, honestly, that surprises me is how much mingling there is among the different species. I drive out there and I will see a hillside dotted with wild Mustangs, mule deer, and pronghorn all kind of, mingled together, moving together, and seeing that sort of interspecies interaction is really rewarding.
Can people visit?
Yes, and we give guided tours. We are not open to the public in the sense that, for example, we also have the Wild Animal Sanctuary, which is in Keensburg, right outside of Denver, and that's got like a welcome center with shops and cafes, and you pay an admission fee, and this is not like that. This is we want to make sure that these animals live a life that is not disrupted. So we do give guided tours, but we especially like to give tours to our founding donors, and those are donors that have purchased or contributed an amount that is equivalent to the purchase price for 1 acre of land, which is $777. If you go to wildhorserefuge.org and find the link for purchase land, you donate $777, and that makes you a founding donor, which entitles you to a VIP tour of the property. We have a founding donors event in September where hundreds of supporters come together. We give them tours, and it's a remarkable experience.
That sounds like a good use for a tax refund.
I mean, right?
I mean,
yeah,
hey,
absolutely,
it's tax,
absolutely. And of course, it goes directly to caring for the horses and caring for the property.
You said you're part of a much larger operation too, with the more exotic animals.
Right.
And you told me a story yesterday we have to tell, and this says a lot about. Is it your founder, right?
The founder and executive director of the Wild Animal Sanctuary is Pat Craig, who has been for 45 years rescuing animals out of bad situations. And what Pat's approach is to provide these captive-born exotic animals, and especially large carnivores, big cats, who are born in captivity and often in very terrible circumstances, to provide them with a habitat, not just another pen or another cage, but to actually give these animals the opportunity to experience habitat where they can run, where they can wander, where they can roam. And for many of these animals, a lot of these animals had never seen the blue sky. They'd never seen, they'd never stepped on dirt or grass. And so watching their minds as they sort of take in their new life is extremely rewarding, because you can tell that they're just blown away that they went from, deprivation and cruelty and suffering to just a life of freedom and joy, and it's pretty remarkable to watch.
And he did something recently.
Well, Pat, yes. So Pat goes, he takes animals from all over the world, and I think the story you're talking about is after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, he got word that there were lions in the Odessa Zoo. And
that's near the port area where the most fight.
Where in the early days of the invasion,
there were just bombs everywhere.
Intense, bombs going off. Pat led a team into Odessa. They got those lions, who of course were terrified because of the chaos.
Yeah.
But he got those lions and transported them to Colorado, and those lions are now living out on a vast habitat.
Isn't that a cool story?
That is so
yeah,
cool.
it's amazing. But that's the kind of work he just got a bunch of big cats out of a bad situation in Mexico. He went down during the Puerto Rico floods. The zoo there was suffering and underwater, and he helped rescue hundreds of animals and brought a lot of them to the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
Wow.
Yeah.
When this whole Joe thing went down, he must have been cringing left and right. I mean, just this whole thing out of Oklahoma and the whole thing. I mean,
we did take a lot of the Tiger King tigers.
I was wondering about that.
Really?
They live
Okay.
down at the sanctuary facility known as the Wild Animal Refuge, and it's down in the southeastern corner of Colorado near Springfield.
I'm glad they ended up somewhere good.
They did. And I seeing those tigers, they've paired them up with other animals that they know and that they grew up with, so everyone gets along. But these animals live in these wide open pastures, basically. They excavate tunnels for them so that they have a place to go and bed
that's
down.
Cool. Oh.
And it's again, it's remarkable. I remember when I was down at the Wild Animal Refuge shortly after I was hired, and we're driving in a Jeep alongside this fence, and we were joined by a wolf who galloped alongside as we were driving along the fence line. And that really gave me a sense of the scale of this place, because this wolf ran alongside us for a long ways. And I look back, and that's how much space this guy had to just be a wolf. And so it's there's really no other facilities like this anywhere. These animals are given not just a new life and peace and comfort, but they're actually given habitat.
I think about how much it costs to put 5 acres of fence around our property.
Yeah.
It's just like, my God.
No, and it's important because the fencing that is constructed both at those large carnivore enclosures as well as the Wild Horse Refuge, it's top of the line fencing because we want to make sure that the animals stay safe.
And that's not cheap. I mean, it's all paid. That's
it's
all
not.
money.
No,
Yeah.
and so that's why we are a nonprofit 501c3 charity that relies solely on private donations to fund the operations. We get no assistance from any government agency or entity. So yeah, we rely on the support of donors who believe in our mission.
And it's wildhorserefuge.org.
wildhorserefuge.org. Check out our operation and sort of our guiding philosophy, and we would love the support.
Thanks, Scott. We'll have you back, okay?
Please do. Thank you.
Even under the best circumstances, travel is stressful for horses. We've all been there, stuck on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. You can make the journey knowing that US Rider is there for you. Get peace of mind on the road with US Rider's nationwide 24/7 roadside assistance coverage for both you and your horse. Join today at usrider.org.
Well, next up, we have Fran with us, and she's an author that I've known for a long time. And you asked me to take a look at a book that you were doing last year, and now it's out. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I love this idea because there's nothing like it. It's kind of new in the horse world. Tell us about the book.
The book is called The Book of Barn Hacks, and I am a trivia collector, and I am a problem solver. So I've, for years, been collecting things online and YouTube and books and Instagram.
Is that a polite way of saying you're a hoarder?
Of ideas.
Okay.
A digital
hoarder.
Oh, I like that.
Oh,
yes, I'm
good.
a digital hoarder. Very lovely. And then decided I had some free time and decided that, I ought to put this into some kind of organization. And I thought it would take me, a month or two. 18 months later, I finally had collected everything and organized it and came out with the Book of Barn Hacks. And it is divided into various sections so that there's a section about organizing things, how to feed so that you're not losing hay, since a bale of hay now is like a fill-up on an F-250. Bugs, a lot of stuff about bugs.
And this is using... It's hacks, so it's using things that aren't necessarily expensive, or you can get them at Walmart, right? Yeah,
right. It's like 4 or 5 ideas about how to not forget to turn off the hose in the water trough.
I did that the other day.
Everybody.
Jennifer almost killed me. Yeah.
And we're getting into shedding season. Okay, what can you come up with that are really easy shedding blades, and what do you do with the hay? We're getting ready to start traveling. So let's go over, do you know how old your tires are? Do you know how to read the information? So it's all this kind of common sense stuff that's easy to take care of. There's a whole chapter about mounting blocks with a whole gallery of pictures of people who have done their own mounting blocks. So it's that kind of thing.
It was really good.
It was so much fun. Thank you. It was so much fun because I self-published it and was working with Black Horse Marketing Solutions. She was putting it together, and we found a wonderful publisher. And I got the first copy, like the review copy from me. It was like, oh, and then it was tight because I was going to another expo, and was worried that I wasn't going to get them in time. And when the UPS guy showed up 2 days ahead of time, 2 days before I left, I jumped out and was hugging him. He was a little scared, but I was happy.
I love this idea. It's a great idea for a book. Especially horse people love hacks. So
they do.
Oh, yeah.
They're obsessed.
Yeah, it is. I'm getting a lot of people coming, and then today I'm going to be doing a presentation on barn hacks this afternoon.
What's your favorite in the book?
Everybody asks me that, and I really don't have one. It's kind of where I am at the time, and this one works well. So I really don't have one. And that's, I like to think that when I'm talking to people about their trailers, and I say, how old are your trailer tires? And being able to tell people how to find that on the tire, and that can prevent a breakdown or an accident. So that makes me feel good. Yeah. I've done something worthwhile with my life. and all these little things that just make life easier and sometimes safer. And it's just fun to go through all of them. And I swore I would never do another one, and I already have a file that says more stuff.
Of course you do.
Of course I do.
Of course.
Where can people get this book?
This book, you can get it at ridersofacertainage.com or bookofbarnhacks.com. They'll both take you to the same page, and it's there.
Well, that leads ridersofacertainage.com leads us to the next conversation.
Yes, it does.
And tell us about that book.
That book, oh God, it's been 2.5 years already. I did not start riding until I was in my later 50s. And in my research, I discovered that women over 60 are now the largest group in recreational riding. And so it said it's a certain age, so we've got a little bit of wiggle room, and it's like 40 and up is kind of what is accepted. And there were a lot of questions. Your riding instructor can talk to you about how you ride, but how do you think as you get older? Your muscle memory changes. If you're older, does an instructor want an older rider? And I posed that on a Facebook page.
Just getting on the horse is harder.
Well, that too.
Let's be honest.
That's why there's a whole chapter about mounting blocks.
Yeah.
But when I polled the riding instructors about, do you want older riders? And they all said, oh my God, yes. First off, you're committed to doing this. You'll take the time.
They listen.
They listen. There's no drama. And best of all, they pay on time.
Yeah.
So they love us.
That's the important part.
And then there are things, well, what do you wear? So we talked about that. And this is probably the only book that gives you the history of the sports bra. That was important.
How much Tylenol can you safely take in one sitting?
Yeah, one day.
That's a good one. And then things about, can you ride with replacement parts? I have 2 fake knees. Yes, you can. And then women issues. Put your fingers in the ears. Women issues. And then some
I
of the
have
more
50 female co-hosts, so I've heard it all.
You've heard it all, yeah. And then some of the more serious things of how do you what happens to your horse if you can't take care of it.
Right.
And I was very, very careful that everything in there, if I'm talking about a veterinary interest, my veterinarian did this. The Wills and Trust, Peter Eckebert, who's a counsel for one of the big equine groups. So I made sure everything in there I can validate. And then I have a Facebook group called, funniest thing, Riders of a Certain Age.
A large Facebook group.
Well, it was strange because we had about 1,000 people. And every month we try to put some things in there that have food value, that are educational or get people involved. We are not sure which one it was. It went viral internationally.
Wow.
We went from 1,000 members to 31,000 members in 3 weeks.
Nice.
Everybody's dream.
Yeah.
And an awful lot of them are European.
Although it's a lot of work for the admin.
Oh, it's been fun. Many, many margaritas. And initially it was open to everybody, but not all men are gentlemen, so we've had to make it private for girls only. Sorry, guys.
Well, I think that was a good idea anyway.
Well, yeah, and when they try, because you have to fill out a little thing of why do you want to join. If it looks like it's somebody nice, there are a couple of nice co-ed groups that I say, hey, you ought to check these people out.
Yeah.
But what's exciting is that it's so many women saying, I'm in my 60s, I'm in my 70s. I met one lady, she was 82, and who came to talk to me after she had taken her first lesson. Is that just too cool?
Wow.
I love
And they're
it.
all posting pictures about, I'm riding now, and here's my horse, and I'm so excited. And that's just very satisfying to have that platform for everybody to share ideas.
Well, you've
And
built a community that needed to be there.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the number of Europeans that are there, it's really exciting.
Well, the one thing we all have in common in this world is horses and riding.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the same everywhere, right? So,
Yeah. And there's a large group from the Netherlands, and of course they post in Dutch. So, fortunately Facebook has the little translator
Yes.
thing.
we have a large listener base in Sweden and a lot of Swedish auditors and things. And I asked one day why. And well, they all learn English as a second
Oh, yeah.
language, so they all speak English. And there are a lot of horses there. And, obviously they're into podcasts too. So.
Oh, yeah. I lived in England for several years, and Europeans, everybody speaks 2 or 3 languages. And they look at us and go, you can only speak American?
Yeah, that's
Because
right.
even English is a little different.
Yeah.
The King's English now.
Well, and I want to brag on your marketing for Riders of a Certain Age, because I think last year you gave me a little goodie bag about your book, and I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, is it a koozie? What is it? It was a heat and ice pack with your brand on it, and I'm like, this is perfect. Fran knows.
No,
she just knows.
No, I have a really good lady that I work with, and Promo Victory, I think she calls herself. And she and I sit there, we go through things. this might work. The other thing that is never turned down is I have nail files with
Yes.
the logo on it.
I have it
And
in
my husband goes,
yeah.
why are you giving away nail files? I said, because you are a man, you do not understand the realities
You
of
need
this world.
it.
That's right.
You need it. That one was the other one I was going to brag about.
Yep.
Yeah. It was like two useful things that I still have to this day.
This is
There
good.
you go.
I
So,
appreciate that.
Fran's
That
a
validates
genius.
my existence.
RidersofAcertainAge.com. Thanks, Fran.
Thank you very much.
I always look as I'm walking around, Allison, and as we were walking around yesterday, I always look for the artist kind of the show. You know, there's always several artists here, whether it's jewelry or, painting or whatever. There's artists here, and we found the artist of the show, in my opinion. And Deb is here. Judging by your website, you were a photographer first. Am I right?
I am a photographer.
And where's professionally?
Yes, I started out in photography and retail advertising for big companies, and that you would see in the ads, and I don't know, the Sunday ads or magazines.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I started it in that way. So I have a whole career in commercial photography for retail advertising, and I was actually went to an art show here in Columbus, Ohio, and saw a photographer who was photographing wild horses. And I fell in love with his work.
Had you had any relation to horses before that?
My husband has horses.
Okay.
I'm not a horse person.
So you're a horse wife, we call it.
I am a horse wife.
Yeah.
And I was actually kind of intimidated by horses, a little scared of them. And the funny thing is my husband had always wanted me to get into horses in some way, shape, or form. Little did he know that I would fall in love with wild horses. So I had no idea there were still wild horses in this country, and I sought out to find them, find where they're living, learn about them, and photograph them. And I fell in love with the Prairie Mountains of Montana.
Of course.
It's a pretty area
It's
anyway, and that had horses.
Gorgeous. And at the elevation, 8,500 feet,
Yeah.
the wildflowers in the summer are just spectacular. The foals dropping is amazing. It's just very inspiring, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So I fell in love with the horses, and a few years into photographing them, I thought, I think I could sell some of these and kind of start paying for my trips out there. And I wanted to tell their greater story, right? And sometimes a photograph just doesn't do it. So I started compositing photos on top of photos.
So explain that. What is compositing?
Compositing is you're taking a couple of photos and you are marrying them together in the computer. And I call them photo fusions. I've tagged that phrase, photo fusions.
Love it.
And it tells the story of the horse greater than what a single photo could do.
Yes.
I mean, I'm seeing ones here also, wolves and things like
yes,
that
I've
that are
expanded outside of-
composited.
yes.
I mean, they're really cool. And they almost look like paintings when you're done.
I have people who say they look like they do.
Oh, they look like
They
paintings.
assume they're paintings, but they are all photographs.
I thought some of them were paintings. They're that well
Oh,
done with
wow.
your
Thank you.
with your editing and things.
That's a
too.
huge compliment.
No,
Thank you.
like this one.
Yes.
That doesn't look like a photograph. It looks like a painting.
looks
This
like a
one
painting,
here,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. But you also do you've done foxes
I
and
do
wolves.
foxes. The foxes they den on our property, on our pasture.
Oh, really?
So so they're fun to watch in the spring when the little ones are out playing.
How often do you go out to do the photos?
I try to go out a couple of times a year and spend a week up on the mountain with the horses.
How cool is that?
It's all wilderness camping. It's all primitive, and you're just out there, and it just
You and your
fantastic.
25-foot lens.
And it's an introvert's
Yes,
dream.
exactly. The lens is bigger than me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's an introvert's dream right there.
It is.
Yes.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Yep.
Yes.
And you don't let your husband come along, do you?
He has gone with me a
Oh.
couple of times, but he had plenty of camping experiences in the military, and he
Oh,
said
he's
he's been
done.
there, done that. He will go with
He's
me
done.
if he doesn't know. He doesn't
His-
want me to go by
his
myself.
camping now is
so-
Hilton. Yeah, that's yeah.
Yes, camping now is in his home.
Yeah.
So has your love for the wild horses translated at all to, do you ride or do you interact with your husband's horses at all, or is it
Well,
just photos?
It is a good question, because in 2009, they had a massive roundup and removal of the wild horses in the Prairie Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband and I brought 2 of them home.
Of course you did. We were just talking about this earlier.
Yes, yes. So we brought 2 of them home.
What are their names?
Image and Ember.
Oh.
Image and Ember.
I love that.
Yes, and they're cousins. They share a grandfather, Cloud.
Oh, Cloud, of course.
Yes, Cloud. And that has been an experience because I'm green with horses, and they're obviously green because they're from the wild. They're 15-month-old little wild, untouched horses.
Yes.
And that's typically a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
but
Marianne
we just
Kennedy has
went
a song,
very-
Green on Green makes black and blue.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. But nobody got hurt, them or me. And it was just, we just all fell in love with each other. And they each have their own little personalities.
We could not have ended this show better than with
Perfect.
that story because we were talking about adoption the whole show.
Oh,
So this is perfect.
yes.
I love it.
We planned this.
Yeah,
man. What are
and
you
we
talking
didn't.
about? We planned it. No.
So I'm still not a horsewoman. I am a woman who loves her horses.
You know, that's fine.
That's fine. I'm a horse
We will-
husband that loves horses. So there
we
you go.
will welcome you as a woman who loves horses, you know?
Well, you can buy prints, right, online for this, for your work? Is that correct? You can buy prints online?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So you go to your website. It's DebbieLittle.com. That's
Deb
simple.
Little.
Oh,
Deb
Little.
Little.
That's
Not
right.
Little Debbie. Are you hungry?
That's right. Yeah, the other way.
DebLittle.com.
So, and you can find the prints. There are a lot of them in there. Your website's beautiful.
Yes,
So
thank you.
head over there. If you're at the show, you're in the Bricker building.
Yes.
And what
And
booth
I'm
number?
at booth number 627
627.
on
And
the purple
also-
aisle.
Yes. And also, her booth is a finalist in the Best Booth Award contest. So if you're here at the show or even if you're at home, go on the Equine Affair Facebook and find our Best Booth Award reel. We have a video reel that my intern edited. She did a great job. And you can actually do a little walkthrough of Deb's booth and see some of her beautiful art. And then make sure you vote for her so that maybe she'll win the Best Booth Award. Not that I
Thank
said
you.
that.
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
impartial. But yeah, so congratulations to Deb. But
Well,
yes,
good
so
work.
congratulations.
And congratulations on your ponies.
Thank you. They're a lot of fun.
Well, that's our lineup of guests today. What a fun batch. And it was Mustang Day here on the show.
It was Mustang Day with a little bit of donkey sprinkled in.
Yeah.
I loved it.
How perfect that our last guest had just adopted a couple. I mean, that's perfect. And she wasn't even a horse person.
No,
Really.
she was a woman who loves horses.
That's right. That's right.
Which I love.
So last night, the first Fantasia happened, and your co-host, Ashley.
Yes, that's right.
Your co-host for the Quarter Horse Show, Kat, was here yesterday. You got to meet for the first
She
time.
sure was. It was so fun. I just stood up and screamed and gave her a big old hug because we had never seen each other in person before.
Aw.
And what day of the month are you guys on? Do you remember?
I think we're the third Tuesday.
That's what I remember too.
And
okay.
we have our next episode recorded in the can, ready to go. So it's just so fun to see someone you spend a lot of time with digitally in the real world. And she was here with her mom, who had some really fun, embarrassing stories, which is always good.
Yes. So I saw them at breakfast this morning at the hotel, and they went to Fantasia last night. I wanted to tell you, Allison, they had a blast.
Good.
She said, I've never seen anything like it. But they specifically talked about the fell ponies because
Oh,
they're everybody's
see?
favorite,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah, and chariot racing and
course.
all, everybody loves the chariot racing. And the chariot they have here is so cool.
Glenn, you guys
Oh,
should
I
have
wanna
seen
take it
him
home.
geeking out. He was like, I don't care about these stinky horses. Get me over to that chariot.
It's just custom made, really cool
Yes.
chariot. They also talked about the draft horses were there, and they talked about the dressage rider. I don't know who that was.
I think it was Nicholas Diaz who we had on
yes,
the show.
Yes,
that's right.
That's right. And then they said there was a Roman rider that was a teenage girl.
It's Liberty Cunningham. I think we've interviewed her. She's one half of the Pegasus Riders.
Oh,
Do you
yes,
remember?
yes. We need to get her back.
We should, yeah.
Yeah, because they could not talk about her enough at breakfast this
She's
morning.
a superstar. She has been trick riding since she was like in the womb, I think. And then she was part of the Pegasus Riders, and they were like 12 together and 13 together, and they were here a few years ago trick riding for us. Now she's back with her own little solo act, and she's killing it.
We need to get her on either tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
We'll track her down because she was the hit.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
There were pyrotechnics, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and they said she's just fearless. She doesn't.
Well, she's how old?
She was Roman riding, jumping jumps.
Come on.
Yeah,
She's
14.
When you're 14, you could do anything. You bounce still.
That's true. You don't even need Tylenol when you're
No,
14.
man.
But she didn't fall off, so we didn't even
There
have
we
to find
go.
out. So are there Fantasia tickets available for tonight and tomorrow?
Yes, there
Okay.
still are. You can still get them. If you're here at the show, the fastest is probably to go to the information booth here in the Bricker, which is actually right on the other side of the wall from the Horse Radio Network booth. Or you can go online to equineaffaire.com and buy them there. And please, please do. We want to see you there. It's going to be a great show.
We have
Tonight and
our
tomorrow.
we have our meetup tonight, listener dinner
That's right.
at
I can't wait
Cheesecake
to see
Factory
you
at 7
guys.
o'clock. So we'll see everybody there. Of course, you can find the Equine Affaire podcast. Just search for Equine Affaire on any podcast player or search for Horses in the Morning. We're there as well. Where can they find information to follow along at home with all the media that you're doing at this event?
Sure. Well, the social media is probably the fastest, most current, most updated, and that's at Equine Affaire on Facebook and Instagram. I'm also posting some little videos over on TikTok. I have an amazing intern this year. Her name is Liv, and this is my first time having an intern. So she's shooting clips and vertical reels for me and editing them while I'm doing things like talking to you guys.
Dang.
And I've got my other two videographers who are going to be here. So I feel like a media queen. But you can see all the stuff, including some things about the Versatile Horse and Rider competition happening this afternoon. We'll have press releases and photos and videos and all the cool stuff. So follow us over on Facebook at Equine Affaire.
Very good. And of course, we'll be back here tomorrow morning with another brand new show, a bunch of more guests for you that we've lined up. We found some interesting products here. We're going to highlight some of those. You guys know I like highlighting products that are fun and interesting. So we'll be doing that as well. That's it for today. That isn't it. Hang on, because I have a post show for the auditors. I met one of our auditors yesterday, Mel. The Mel.
That's what I said.
Yes.
I came around the corner. Glenn said, "Look who it is." I said, "Is this the Mel?"
You see her all the time in the Facebook group. I got to spend 10, 15 minutes with her. We kind of did an auditor highlight here at the show. So you'll hear Mel, hold on, for the auditors, and you'll find her in the post show. Thanks, Allison.
Thank you.